You have mentioned your uncle who was a doctor and that he saved you from being scarred for life. Can you tell us about that incident, what happened, and how your uncle helped you out?
That was my great uncle John, whom I never actually got to meet. He was, well, he and my papa were part of a family of six brothers and two sisters. And great uncle John was the flashiest of the lot. He was brilliant, and he was also a feared street fighter. What characterized him was the fact that somebody would tempt him into a fight or cause him to become irate. Thing is, it's actually hard to imagine him being a Scot because he seems so much more Irish in his temperament. But what would happen is he would wade in, even as a kid, and he would wail the tar out of whoever it was, and he would be crying the whole time, weeping real tears of grief over what he was doing. So he went to medical school at the University of Pennsylvania, which is why my grandfather didn't become a doctor. He became a chemist instead, because one doctor is enough in the family, right? So Great Uncle John turned out to be a big family disappointment because he became a society doctor, even though he had this incredible talent for curing things. But he had a fancy office and nice cars. He had an Auburn, as I told you earlier. And so all we ever really had to go on was the stories about Uncle John. Until the day that I actually I had a bad incident with an Irish setter with heartworm, a dog that liked me and I liked him. His name was Duke, and I remember reaching down to pet him, and he bit me hard in the face, across my nose, under my eye, very bad. And of course, there follows the usual scene of panic. And I was fortunate that one of the Martin daughters took me in her Corvair, and my mother, barely under control, followed in her car because nobody trusted her actually to drive me to the doctor. And we went in to see this surgeon who was on his day off, named Dr. Houston. And he put a needle in my nose and under my eye and said, "This is going to hurt." And I said, "I know." And he said, "You're very tolerant of pain, aren't you?" And I said, "No, I'm not. I'm just not showing it. It hurts." So he stitched me up. I had 4 stitches across my nose, bridge of my nose, and 4 stitches under my eye. And unfortunately, one of the women who was at the scene, this was at a pool owned by our friends the Hines, was there when I was bitten. And she told my mother, "He's going to be scarred for life." The record is silent as to whether my mother actually thanked her for this bit of information, but I'm thinking she probably wasn't. So, we waited the requisite time for the stitches to come out. And turns out that I was like highly prone to scarring. I had like huge red welts in both places where the stitches had been. And so my mother, now being a fully fledged member of the miraculous Laird family, goes into the medicine cabinet at the Laird household and finds this stuff called Arcase, which was some kind of an unguent based on silver. I don't know. That my great uncle John had concocted Arcase, and it was very dark brown in color, like even darker than mercurochrome. And she put it on my scars every night. Cut to a month later, and we show up at the same pool, and unfortunately by now Duke, the Irish setter, has expired. They put him down. I mean, I never held it against Duke. It wasn't his fault. Anyhow, and this nurse, whose name was, I remember, June Winhold, was there. And she sees me, and she says to my mother, "What did you do?" My mother said, "Arcase." There were no more scars. Thank you, great Uncle John.
Mm-hmm.